Any acts or threats of political violence are an attack on our democracy itself. There is one way to settle our disagreements. It's called peacefully at the ballot box. That's what we want.
It is Thursday, October 25th. At a Fox News alert, an urgent nationwide manhunt.
Yeah, the FBI looking for who sent 7 potential bombs to the homes and offices of high-profile Democrats. As President Trump condemns these acts, his critics are pointing the finger at him.
And race to the border with thousands of migrants setting their sights on the United States. The brand new reaction from the president overnight.
Fox and Friends First continues right now.
And a good morning. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Thursday morning. I'm Jillian Mealy.
And I'm Rob Schmidt. Good morning to you. And we're going to start with the Fox News alert, the urgent search for a would-be political bomber targeting prominent liberal and Democratic political figures.
President Trump vowing to find those responsible.
My highest duty, as you know, as president, is to keep America safe. We will find those responsible and we will bring them to justice.
Todd Pyro is here with the latest, including a potential threat to the former vice president. What's the latest, Todd?
Yeah, right now we're just learning authorities are searching for a package reportedly addressed to Joe Biden because it bears some similarities to those addressed to other Democratic officials. The package was originally sent to Biden's old address in Delaware, but was returned to sender. So far, there's been no indication of anything actually being found at Biden's home. We're also getting a look at the package sent to CNN. The AP reporting it was made from PVC pipe covered with black tape, packed with powder and glass, and hooked up to a small battery. Law enforcement says they think one person or group is responsible for these packages. The FBI director saying this is now the agency's top priority, with most of the devices being analyzed right now at the FBI lab in Quantico. President Trump denouncing these acts of terror at his rally last night.
Any acts or threats of political violence are an attack on our democracy itself. No nation can succeed that tolerates violence or the threat of violence as a method of political intimidation, coercion, or control.
You can see how widespread the targets are. The home of George Soros on Monday, north of New York City. That's close to the home of Bill and Hillary Clinton, where a package was addressed before it was intercepted by the Secret Service on Tuesday. Then early yesterday morning, the Secret Service intercepted a package addressed to the D.C. home of Barack Obama, followed by the evacuation of the Time Warner Center and CNN here in New York City, caused by that package we showed you addressed to former CIA Director John Brennan. Then late morning, Sunrise, Florida police announced they were investigating a package sent to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. It was erroneously addressed to Eric Holder, but had the office of Wasserman Schultz as the return address, as did the other packages reportedly. Later, U.S. Capitol Police in Maryland investigated a package addressed to Maxine Waters' office, while the Los Angeles Central Mail facility was evacuated after employees there found a suspicious package also addressed to Waters. Meantime, security tight here in New York City, with National Guard soldiers at bridges, tunnels, and airports, as well as more police at media organizations. The FBI said it is possible more packages were mailed at other locations, so law enforcement remains on high alert. Jillian and Rob?
It is a scary time right now, and we're going to have more on this in the next 10 minutes.
Yep.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay.
And one of the targets, as Todd mentioned, former CIA Director John Brennan, wasting no time blaming President Trump.
Donald Trump too often has helped to incite some of these feelings of anger, if not violence. This is what, unfortunately, a lot of bullies and a lot of individuals do.
Brennan, who has been an outspoken critic of the president, calling his rhetoric un-American. The two battled over the summer, igniting a debate over the security clearances of former government officials.
Brennan not the only one to come out swinging against the president. In a joint statement, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer saying in part, quote, "We all take an oath to support and defend the Constitution and protect the American people, and this is our first responsibility." However, President Trump's words ring hollow until he reverses his statements that condone acts of violence.
And although there has been finger pointing in the immediate aftermath of the threats, a lot of people are calling for unity.
President Trump's son, Eric, knows firsthand what it's like to be targeted and threatened and says this type of violence does not represent who we are as Americans.
These people should be hunted down and they should be thrown in jail for a very, very long time. It's that simple. It doesn't matter which party it is. Hey, last year I had white powder sent to my house. Don had white powder sent to his house. You know, the white powder literally blew up in my wife's face, right? And the FBI and the Secret Service, they caught the guy and they threw him in jail. They need to do the exact same thing to this person. They need to hunt this person down. They need to throw the person in jail, and they need to throw away the key, because honestly, the lack of civility is unreal. This isn't the country we are. This isn't who we are. There are many Democrats, who are, and Republicans. They're all great people. The vast, vast, vast majority of people are great people. They don't want this nonsense. This isn't right.
The White House responded swiftly, saying these, quote, cowardly threats will not be tolerated.
Another Fox News alert now. President Trump pointing the finger at Democrats for the migrant caravan inching closer to the border at his Wisconsin rally.
Jackie Ibanez is here live in the studio with how the administration's efforts with Mexico are working to thin out this march. Hey, Jackie.
Hey, good morning. The two sides discussing how to handle the caravan if and when it reaches the U.S. border. Mexican officials say the caravan is dwindling, with hundreds sick and exhausted, accepting government offers to bus them back home. President Trump blaming Democrats for weak immigration laws at his rally last night. Listen.
The Democrat Party is openly encouraging caravan after caravan of illegal aliens to violate our laws and break into our country.
Mexico says there are about 3,600 left in the march, with more than 1,000 miles to go. But Reuters reports it could be as large as 10,000 people. Director of Policy Studies for the Center for Immigration Studies, Jessica Vaughn, joined us earlier to break down the conflicting numbers.
Smugglers infiltrate them and try to peel people off to pay them to bring them illegally. And some may feel that they have a better chance of getting in illegally with the smuggler than with the caravan. Clearly, some people are getting tired and worn out and want to go home.
The Trump administration looking for ways to speed up removing migrants with no legal reason to stay here in the U.S. CNN reporting that Homeland Security officials are considering holding them at the Mexico border before allowing entry into the states. Advocates say the administration is just trying to block migrants from claiming asylum. Back to you.
All right, Jackie, thanks. And a Fox News alert now. Police questioning a man accused of killing two people at a Kroger supermarket. Gregory Bush charged with murder after police say he shot one person inside the store and then another person in the parking lot right outside Louisville, Kentucky.
Some people started running, and they said, he's shooting. So I went to get down on the ground. I'm in the store shopping. I mean, you don't think something like this is going to happen.
Well, another armed man in the parking lot tried to be a hero and shoot Bush to stop him, but he missed. Witnesses say the killings could be racially motivated. Two Satan-worshipping middle school students are caught in a chilling plot to kill their classmates. Knives, scissors, and a pizza cutter were among the weapons that police found on these two girls, just 11 and 12 years old.
They wanted to kill at least 15 people, and were waiting in the bathroom for the opportunity to find smaller kids that they could overpower.
That is horrifying. Investigators also found this hand-drawn map of that Florida school reading "Go to Kill" in the bathroom. Both girls have been expelled from the school and are now facing charges.
CIA Director Gina Haspel getting a first-hand account of columnist Jamal Khashoggi's death. During her trip to Turkey, Haspel reportedly listened to an audio recording of the incident, revealing gruesome details about what happened inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Meantime, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia speaking publicly for the first time since Khashoggi's death.
The crime was really painful to all Saudis. And I believe it is painful to every human in the world. It is a heinous crime that cannot be justified.
Turkey's president called Khashoggi's death premeditated murder. The Saudis claim he died during a fight. The World Series.
I like that.
I like when
Los Angeles
places have
market.
some fun.
There you go, yeah. All right, you still have a chance to become America's next multi-millionaire. The Powerball jackpot climbing to $750 million after nobody picked last night's winner. 56, the Powerball 22, still none of my numbers. The next drawing is Saturday.
So far, no one's come forward. They don't have to under South Carolina law, so we may never know. The store that sold the ticket will get a $50,000 prize.
Isn't that the worst? We may never know.
I know, it's crazy. A state of fear nationwide as the hunt for a serial bomber intensifies overnight. The former FBI agent who tracked down the Unabomber says the suspect can't hide for long thanks to the trove of forensic clues left behind. Terry Turchie joins us next.
And do you remember when Hillary Clinton said this?
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for.
Well, she's changed her tune now that she's been targeted. We're going to hear what she has to say in the wake of what's happened yesterday. Stay tuned.
When I was shopping.
Bring on the candy. Crest has you covered.
And a Fox News alert, the Fed's investigating 7 suspicious packages, potential bombs, all sent to Democrats. Investigators say the packages all bear similar markings and are very likely from the same source.
So what can we learn about the suspect or the group behind them? Here now to weigh in is former FBI counterterrorism agent and the man who led the team that caught the Unabomber, Terry Turchie. Thank you for your time this morning. So the fact that all of these devices are intact, what type of information can we get from that?
Well, when you're working bombings, having an intact device is like the Holy Grail. So these devices have made their way to the FBI lab. They'll be looked at from all kinds of different perspectives. What the containment vessel was, what the explosive main charges were, the kinds of tape and glue and nails and screws and all of the things that went into putting these bombs together. Because in the end, it's not all of the materials. They're used by everybody, but it's how those materials were brought together to manufacture and make the bomb that gives you the signature of the bomber, because all of these people make their bombs in a little bit different way. We found that after 18 years of looking for the Unabomber that all of his bombs, 16 bombs, were connected by the way he was putting them together. And so when we finally found him, that of course made a huge difference. And that's going to make a huge difference in the outcome of this, because we already have these intact bombs. We're not going to crime scenes and picking up little pieces of debris, which are a lot harder to then trace back to where the ingredients and the items came from that went into the bombs.
Terry, 2 questions. First of all, do you see any indication that these bombs had any chance of going off, or were they just designed to look like bombs? And second of all, do you have any idea of a profile of who we might be looking for at this point?
Well, I wouldn't know whether or not these bombs had a chance of going off or not because I'm not inside this investigation. Right. But of course, anytime you get a pipe bomb, that's a real problem. So my hunch is they had the potential to go off. They probably, if they indicate anything, and I'm kind of theorizing here, but if they indicate anything, they're probably the work of a first-time bomber, somebody who set about to make these bombs to give a message. So this is probably the first time this individual's done that. The FBI will be able to confirm that forensically anyway if they've seen bombs like this before, or if they haven't. As far as the motive type question or that type of thing, in these cases, in the profile, in these cases, it's really important to stay with these the facts, and the facts are forensics. The facts of the crime scene. It's not too long ago, if you remember back at the days right after 9/11, and we had the anthrax attacks up and down the East Coast, in Florida, in New York, in Washington D.C. All kinds of people had all kinds of opinions, and some would argue that the anthrax attacks might have led us to invade Iraq. And of course, we tried to convey at the time to politicians that we didn't think this was an act of international terrorism. We thought the anthrax attacks were the work of a domestic bomber because of what we'd learned in or a domestic terrorist, because of what we'd learned in Unabomb. So we have to be really careful now, because even though it looks one way, it could be another. And only in the bomber's mind is that riddle figured out. And we'll, in my opinion, figure that or find out the truth here pretty soon, because usually these cases don't take that long. Most bombings, most mail bombings, or anything involving the U.S. mail, usually it only takes maybe a few days to figure out things, and things all start to come together. You get information, you go to the public, and then you start getting the names that you need to look at.
Terry, I believe we spoke to you actually just a couple months ago after we saw a lot of package bombs in Austin, Texas. It seems like there's an uptick in this. In fact, the FBI's elite bomb force has told us, elite bomb training school has told Fox that there has been an increase in postal bombs since mid-2016. Can you think of a reason why that would be?
Because it's easy. It's available to anybody who really wants to be a terrorist from their basement. And all they have to do, and they think they're in hiding, is put together the bomb. They can go online. They can read. They can look at all the kinds of things that the Unabomber, that Eric Robert Rudolph, the Olympic bomber, that all of these people have done. And then they can go out and they can make a statement and they can matter. And that, again, going back kind of to the profile question as well, that's really what the lone type terrorist is about, wanting to make a statement, wanting to matter. Most of these people we've found actually have either diagnosed or undiagnosed types of mental illness. So they're stimulated by the kind of talk and the kind of things that are going on today in our country. No doubt about that.
Well, we got a lot to learn about this case, and I think we're going to learn a lot here in the next couple days. Thankfully, none of these bombs went off. Terry, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It is 19 minutes after the hour, an urgent manhunt for whoever sent those bombs. But a former aide to Hillary Clinton says he knows who is to blame: President Trump's Twitter feed. Plus,
why would you allow your dislike for the president to knowingly put communities at risk?
All right, Democrat candidate for governor of Florida, Andrew Gillum, put on the spot during a tense final debate with Ron DeSantis. His response to that coming up next.
See, feel.
Hope you're having a good morning so far. Welcome back. The family of missing Wisconsin teen Jamie Kloss breaking their silence, giving an emotional plea to bring her home.
Jamie, we need you here with us to fill that hole we have in our hearts. We all love you to the moon and back, and we will never stop looking for you.
That was Jamie's aunt. Jamie's mom and dad both shot to death inside their home the same night the 13-year-old disappeared. Police are offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to her whereabouts. Terrifying surveillance video just released showing a gunman opening fire inside the Trump National Doral Hotel in Florida earlier this year. The man draping an American flag over the front desk before smashing several computers. That's when police arrive and the suspect runs off while shooting at them. He makes his way upstairs, throwing himself on the floor, putting his hands behind his back. Police arrested him. He'll appear in court this week.
A showdown in the Sunshine State as Florida wraps up its final gubernatorial debate. Immigration sparking a heated exchange between Republican Ron DeSantis and Democrat Andrew Gillum.
He will support sanctuary cities. He said he will not cooperate with Donald Trump's ICE. He hates Trump so much. Why would you allow your dislike for the president to knowingly put communities at risk?
A crime like that, you will be deported from the United States.
You will cooperate?
We will absolutely cooperate with any federal order that comes down.
All right, despite Gillum's calls in the past to abolish ICE, Real Clear Politics has him leading Ron DeSantis by nearly 4 points at this time. A former congressional candidate accused of trying to buy radioactive material to kill somebody. The FBI says Jeremy Ryan tried to buy deadly substances online to kill an unknown target. He could face life in prison. Ryan once challenged House Speaker Paul Ryan for his congressional seat in Wisconsin. He was dubbed Segway Jeremy after protesting in the state capitol in 2011 while riding around on a Segway with that neck brace on.
It is 25 minutes after the hour. As thousands of migrants march toward the border, one Angel dad is doing something about it to honor his murdered son. The first order of business, confronting the caravan.
And flipping the script in California, meet the Republican candidate who wants to be the first Muslim GOP congressman, and he is facing an uphill battle in blue California. Omar Quadrat joins us live coming up next. All right, back with a Fox News alert. A nationwide manhunt for a would-be political bomber intensifying.
A string of suspicious packages sent to prominent Democratic leaders. Right now, authorities looking into a possible package sent to former Vice President Joe Biden. So far, there's been no indication of anything actually being found at Biden's home. President Trump vowing to bring whoever is responsible to justice and calling for unity.
There's much we can do to bring our nation together. For example, those engaged in the political arena must stop treating political opponents as being morally defective.
All right, you can see the widespread threats, there they all are, made against the Clintons, the Obamas, CNN, and others. None of the devices went off. Nobody got hurt. After that potential bomb was found at Hillary Clinton, or at the post office near Hillary Clinton's house, she quickly changed her tune on Democrats and Republicans getting along.
It's a time of deep divisions, and we have to do everything we can to bring our country together.
So that's yesterday. The response, though, drastically different from what she said just a couple weeks ago.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
Later on in that interview, Clinton said that civility will only start if Democrats take back either the House or the Senate in November.
But as Clinton calls for political parties to come together, one of her former aides is pushing them apart by blaming the president.
These are very lucky people in that the former first families have Secret Service protection with such robust protocols. But if you look at who they've targeted so far, it's almost like they're following Donald Trump's Twitter feed.
Philippe Reines also criticized the White House, saying it didn't respond to the bombs quickly enough.
The president strongly condemning the wave of bomb threats against Democrats as an attack on our democracy as a whole.
Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz says it's shameful that even this is becoming political.
President Trump had the right tone, the right message. He laid it out there, only to have Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer swat his hand away and say, no, we can't do that. Shame on them for that. We should be united in calling out violence, no matter what side of the aisle it's on. President Trump tried to do that, and I hated to see these Democratic leaders and political operatives like Philippe Reines. I just so disappointed in him. Just take a deep breath, everybody. We'll get through this election. The United States of America is still the greatest country on the face of the planet, but we can be united when there's an act of terror like what happened in sending out these packages.
There has been bipartisan condemnation of these attempted attacks.
Political disagreement, the motivation behind a new threat against a Republican. New Jersey congressional candidate Jay Weber receiving an anonymous letter reading, quote, "You better hope you don't win or else." It also threatens his 7 children. Weber responding on Twitter saying, quote, "Criticizing a candidate on the issues is part of politics. Threatening my children is not." He goes on to say, "We will not be intimidated." Bakers hit with a $135,000 fine for refusing to serve a same-sex couple want their case in front of the Supreme Court. The owners of the now closed Sweet Cakes by Melissa appealing a decision from an Oregon appeals court forcing them to pay emotional damages to the couple they turned away, citing religious reasons.
This is nothing we'd ever want to hurt anybody with. We never wanted to be in this situation, but I have to say, I don't take it back. We have to live out our religious beliefs, and that's what we aim to do.
It is unclear when the Supreme Court will decide whether or not to take the case.
All right, taking on deep blue California, Democratic incumbent Scott Peters fighting to keep his seat in the 52nd district.
His challenger, Omar Kudrat, a Muslim Republican who appears to be challenging the narrative of the left. Now, if elected, he would be the first ever Muslim Republican to serve in Congress.
And Mr. Kudrat joins us now from California. Thank you, sir, for coming on this morning. This is a tough battle. You're just north of San Diego, it looks like, near Camp Pendleton. This is a district that was Republican for a number of years, and then about 6 years ago went Democrat. How close are you looking right now?
Hey, well, look, Garo, first of all, thank you for having me on. This is a target seat. Voter registration is about even here. But let me tell you what the most relevant thing is about this race. It's a reality. Me and my 2 older sisters were born and raised in Southern California, and we are seeing the failed formula of the policies of the radical left bring this state to near total destruction. We're about $1.3 trillion in debt, including unfunded liabilities. Homelessness is soaring in every major city. Small business exodus, which is hurting the least well-off the most because the least well-off are dependent on the jobs of small businesses. And I'll tell you, I live these failed policies that I'm fighting against. Me and my family struggled to achieve the American dream. We achieved it. I want to lift all Americans up. I want to lift all of the children of my district and my state up. And the way I'm going to do that is to try to move against these policies that have proven with evidence that is now indisputable to fail.
Not many people really talking about this race. Why do you think that is?
Well, you know, you got to ask the media that I think might be trying to give a free pass to my opponent. Look, the bottom line is the narrative of my opponent sounds ridiculous when you try to apply it to me. You know, stoking social tensions and trying to make Republicans feel that we're racist because we want things like border security. Let me give you the greatest example of how ridiculous it would be for my opponent to call me, the son of immigrants from Afghanistan, racist, when we have approximately 5,000 to 10,000 fentanyl pills illegally coming over our border every week in San Diego. So far, over 40 San Diegans have been killed. We're looking at potentially 100 San Diegans killed just this year with illegal drugs coming over the border. I'm calling for border security. What I'm calling for is immediate federal intervention. I want to do the job that my opponent is not doing as a member of Congress to secure the nation. And this is about public safety. This is not about social tensions. This is not about political games. And I really discredit the narrative, I think, of my opponent. And he just will not be able to go toe-to-toe with me, which is why he's been avoiding a debate.
You look at the demographics in Southern California, there's not that many bastions of conservative hope, but there are some in and around the San Diego area, including parts of your district. How do you inspire these people to get out and vote? Because it's so important, especially in a midterm, that they do vote if you have a chance.
It really is. My district is really going to be decided by independents. And when I say independents, I'm talking about truly independent thinkers who really aren't going to get distracted by partisan politics or parties. They're going to choose who's best for the job, and it's about getting the message out there. And I'll just tell you, you know, the people in my district, they can see through talking point zero results and the narrative. Going back to it, I mean, look, I'm a minority. I'm the son of immigrants. I thought I'm everything Democrats want to see in America, right? I meet the mission statement of the DNC, so I am formally asking for a contribution from the DNC because I'm everything. You know, I don't know why they're mad at me. I thought I was everything they wanted, what they wanted America to be. So here I am. Where's the support?
That's very interesting. That's an interesting technique. Thank you, sir, very much for your time this morning. We do appreciate it.
I'll be watching.
Thank you very much.
All right. 37 minutes after the hour, the Connors may have moved on from Roseanne.
Maybe we should just tell the bill collectors that Mom died.
Don't you remember Mom used that herself like 5 times?
Well, but viewers have not. Carly Shimkus here with the proof next.
Is brought to you by Quality Inn. Get your money's worth.
All right, now Tropical Depression Willa heading to the U.S., sparking flash flood warnings in Texas, which really can't handle much more rain.
Yeah.
They've already been inundated. Some areas already facing historic flooding after torrential downpours drenched that state earlier this month.
After slamming Mexico as a Category 3 hurricane, Willa could fuel the first nor'easter of the season this weekend. Let's go right to meteorologist Adam Klotz, who's tracking this system. Boy, oh boy, lots happening.
Yeah, it was a hurricane, and it could be a nor'easter by the time we get into the weekend. So currently moving across the middle of the country, still dropping a lot of rain in portions of Texas, but now moving closer to Louisiana, falling there along the Mississippi River. Over the next day or so, it's going to bring this rain across portions of the southeast. By late Friday, we're going to be talking about rain moving into the mid-Atlantic. Once it gets off the coast, that's when we start to see this thing form into a low pressure system moving its way up the coast, and that's when we could be talking about our first nor'easter of the season. Yes, it's October, so it's still early. It's not the typical nor'easter you think of with a whole lot of snow, maybe a little bit of inland snow, but what we're really talking about on Saturday across running through the mid-Atlantic up into New England, it is going to be a wet, it is going to be a windy, it is going to be a cold, raw day for Saturday across portions of New England, mid-Atlantic. Winds getting up 30, 40, maybe up to 50 miles an hour. So really Saturday is going to be the day, guys, where this moves from, again, the southeast into New England. Saturday is going to be a rough one here in the city and then really across all of New England.
Jeez.
Not a lot of snow, but still a nasty day.
It's winter already.
I know.
Yes, it is.
I can't believe it.
All right, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks.
All right, let's get back to our top story now. The nationwide manhunt ramping up for the suspect or suspects who sent bombs to high-profile Democrats and offices of CNN.
Social media reaction pouring in overnight to this. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115. Here with comments from both sides of the aisle. Hey, Carly.
Yeah, hey, good morning, guys. Amid heightened political attentions, this situation really sparking a major call for peace and civility. Here is an interesting tweet from Donald Trump Jr. He says, as someone whose family has directly been the victim of these mail threats, I condemn whoever did this regardless of party or ideology. This crap has to stop, and I hope they end up in jail for a long time. Now, if you remember, a letter containing a white powdery substance was sent to him in the mail. His then wife opened it, was sent to the hospital. That substance was later deemed non-threatening. And then there's this tweet from Congressman Steve Scalise, who knows all too well what it's like to be the victim of a politically motivated attack. He says these attempted attacks that have been made are beyond criminal. They are acts of pure terror. Violence and terror have no place in our politics or anywhere else in our society. And then former Vice President Joe Biden also weighing in, saying this country has to come together. This division, this hatred, this ugliness has to end. And you know, guys, the FBI, I'm sure, is working tirelessly right now to figure out whoever did this. All right, so some numbers are in from the Connors, right? Yeah, that's right. So the Connors, the Roseanne Barr-less spinoff, received about 25% less viewers, the second episode did, than those who tuned into the season premiere. So 10.5 million viewers tuned into episode 1, 7.9 to episode 2. This really isn't that big of a surprise, considering some people may have just tuned in to see how the show would handle Roseanne Barr's character's death. Jeanette's not surprised. She says she was the show. She was the reason people tuned in. Another Twitter user said, did they really think that this would work? And Sassy Girl also says the Goners not watching Bring Back Roseanne. So some people willing to forgive her Twitter behavior, and they want to see her back on TV.
It's like 2.5 Men Without Charlie Sheen. I mean, the show was called Roseanne.
Exactly.
It's kind of tough to do it without Roseanne.
I hear you there.
What is this Alexa kid getting mad at Alexa thing? What is
so
this
cute. A toddler in Wisconsin became very frustrated when her home's Amazon Alexa device couldn't quite understand her request to play the popular kids song Baby Shark. Watch.
Alexa, play Baby Shark. Alexa, play Baby Shark.
Alexa, play Baby Shark.
There you go. And if you've never heard that song before, try to avoid it because it will be in your head all day, which is probably why that little girl wanted to hear it. A lot of folks loving this video on social media. Bless her heart, so sweet. She's been viewed about 10 million times online.
Oh, she's the cutest.
Isn't that so funny?
Thanks, Carly.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, Carly, thanks so much. All right, tough turnaround here, but this young man was murdered by an illegal immigrant. It was an abhorrent crime. His father now doing everything he can to make sure it doesn't happen to another American. And his first order of business is to confront this migrant caravan that is heading toward our southern border. That father is going to join us live coming up next.
But first, let's check in with Steve Doocy to see what's coming up on Fox and Friends. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Jillian. Good morning, Rob. Coming up on Fox and Friends 14 minutes from right now, we got the White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders is going to be joining us. The House Majority Whip Steve Scalise and Dan Bongino, along with Michelle Malkin. We're going to be talking about the caravan, and we're going to be talking about who sent those 8 package bombs to prominent Democratic Americans. We got a busy 3 hours, kicks off 13 minutes from right now, right here on the channel everybody trusts for their morning news, folks.
Thanks for paying attention.
Caught me sitting back.
You bet.
Steve, we'll look forward to it. We'll be right back.
Now you can relax.
There you go.
21-year-old Grant Ronnebeck was shot and killed by an illegal immigrant while at work 3 years ago. Now his father has launched a political think tank with the goal of fixing illegal immigration.
The first order of business there is solving this caravan crisis, which is still heading towards our southern border. Founder of the Ronnebeck Institute and angel father Steve Ronnebeck joins us now. Sir, thank you so much for your time this morning. And once again, our condolences regarding your son and the horrific crime that took his life. Can I ask you first off, what is the first order of business regarding this caravan? What's the plan? Sir, can you hear us? Guys in the booth, do we have?
I can.
Good morning, sir. Yes, if you can hear us now. I just kind of wanted to start off and ask what is the first order of business you have dealing with this caravan? What do you plan to do? Okay, we're going to be right back. We don't have him yet. We'll be right back.
Insurance that won't replace the full value.
All right, going to try this again. We're back now with Steve Ronnebeck, a father of a young man who was killed by an illegal immigrant. Thank you, sir, for joining us. And I just kind of want to start off and ask you, this migrant caravan heading towards the southern border, you have a plan to confront it. Just tell us a little bit about what you want to do.
Well, what we want to do, I'm being joined by Marianne Mendoza and some other angel families. We want to go to the border. We don't know if we're going to run into anyone at this early date, but the one thing we want to confront is the notion that there's actually a border or something as a barrier along our southern border. Where we're going to do this press conference, there's really nothing. There's a couple strands of barbed wire. Now, when this caravan gets here, you know, yes, there's going to be the ports of entry that they're going to try to overwhelm. But what happens in the middle of the night when nobody's watching? Where are they going to go? They're going to go to these portions of the border where there's nothing stopping them.
Right.
Mr. Ronnebeck, how do you think the president is doing as far as immigration? And what is your message to a lot of the country that believes that we should have open borders?
You know, it's ridiculous. Our president is doing anything and everything he can to keep his promises, and he has kept his promises. But he's been stonewalled at every turn on our illegal immigration. He's been stonewalled at every turn on our border wall. We cannot let between 4,000 and 17,000 illegal aliens come into our country and just start sucking off of our economic security systems. It just doesn't work that way. You're talking about millions of dollars, and even if it's just the 4,000, if they decide that they want to file for social service programs, you're talking $60 million a year. Yeah. Just to support 4,000 of them.
Sir, the last time I saw a poll on this was about a year ago. It was a Harvard poll that stated 80% of Americans, 80%, think that police and ICE should have to work together and that immigration and customs enforcement should be made aware when an illegal immigrant is found. What do you have to say to the leaders of these sanctuary cities when you hear that number?
Well, the only thing I can say to them is get ready, because if this 4,000 to 17,000 person caravan actually makes it across our border, where do you think they're going to head? They're going to head to those sanctuary cities. They're going to overwhelm those cities. They're going to overwhelm the citizens of those cities. They're going to overwhelm the social service programs of those cities. The crime is going to go up. Murders, rapes, burglaries, all of it. It's going to affect everything.
Mr. Ronnebeck, thank you for joining us, and we're sorry for your loss for what happened to your son.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
As healthcare plays a critical role in the midterms, President Trump is reportedly unveiling a new plan to slash Medicare drug prices today. According to Politico, costs could drop by as much as 30%, saving Medicare more than $17 billion. One of the ways this could be achieved, negotiating for drugs directly administered by doctors to keep them in line with prices in other countries.
All right, about done with the show. Time for the good, the bad, and the ugly, though. We start with the good. And McDonald's breakfast getting bigger, adding new options for the first time in 5 years. The new triple breakfast stacks. Looks healthy, doesn't it? We'll have 3 times as much meat as a regular sandwich. They'll only be on the menu from November 1st through December, though.
All right, next the bad. Those new sandwiches could be this dog's new favorite treat. But her owner is calling her a gold digger for pretending to be a stray to get free McDonald's. Princess caught in the act at a nearby restaurant after sneaking out of her home in Oklahoma. Her owner urging people to stop feeding her burgers because she's getting fat. That's crazy.
That's my kind of dog.
I love it. Princess.
What a trick.